guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is the 13th of October, 2019. It's election day in Poland.
It is.
We're really excited about that. See what's gonna transpire there and see if anything fun. I think it is going to be a little, from what little tiny research I did, it looks like, see, no fighting. We have dogs again. It looks like we might see more populist movements there. It's continuing to grow like a wildfire. And I think it's so awesome.
Do or die. Boris will not win election unless he delivers Brexit on time. The Conservatives will only win a majority in the House of Commons at the next election if Boris Johnson delivers Brexit on October 31st. Do not feel bad if you're still confused about what's happening, because it's like a tennis match and the ball just keeps going back and forth and back and forth. But one thing is sure, the Brexit party will win out. Katie Hopkins is for sure that we're going to leave on, you're going to leave, she says we. Y'all are going to leave on October 31st. She is incredibly optimistic, thinking that Boris will deliver for you. The one thing that is for sure is that Nigel Farage's Brexit party will destroy the Conservative Party if he doesn't. Let's see. The Comms research poll, as seen by The Telegraph, was presented at a fringe event at last week's Tory party conference. It validated the predictions by many Brexiteers that failure to deliver Brexit by the deadline will result in a major electoral loss for the party. This polling shows what every MP must know. The UK is yearning to move on. It's time to get Brexit done on time, do or die, said Steve Baker, chairman of the Conservative Party's Brexiteer European Research Group. Even a slight delay would cost the Tories an election. Even a slight delay. We're just going to go forward a little bit, and the whole nation just moans.
They like to use the word extension.
Yeah.
They've already had an extension.
Yeah.
A really hefty one. You can't just keep kicking the can down the road. Now, Straight White Guy says, we can't leave without a deal, so we're not leaving. I disagree. You can totally leave without a deal, obviously.
Well, here's the thing. Burkow and Parliament have done this twitchery. We don't know if you can leave without a deal. We honestly don't know. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know. There's so much trickery happening in this. You say you disagree. I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I don't know what Parliament's going to do next. I don't know what y'all are going to do next. I have no idea what's going to happen next. You got literally, it's like you keep throwing things in front of the carriage as it's riding down. Well, the carriage is gonna be fine. It looks clear for now. And then somebody fells a tree with a chainsaw. Oops. Well, it was clear to have a no deal Brexit until somebody chopped the tree down, and then the carriage goes kaput.
Okay, let me read some comments. Abominable Snowman says, if the Parliament blocked him, I feel he'd still win a majority to undo whatever they've done. Mr. Spock says Jacob Rees-Mogg is all excited. Nigel is scared to death that whatever is in the deal will keep the UK stuck in another bad deal for years to come. Berpazza says, Michelle, believe me, Brexit is like a tennis match, but Parliament has lost the ball. Red Squirrel says on Poland, wasn't in European Union, only the man went to work. Since they joined the European Union, Polish people have fled Poland, food prices have quadrupled, and man and wife have to both have 2 jobs. Let's see. Burbaz says, Michelle, all we actually have to do to leave is to repeal the 1972 European Communities Act, and then we are out, full stop.
Okay, so this article is from October 9th of this week. The new president of the European Parliament confirmed he has entered into talks with his British counterpart, Speaker John Bercow, on how to prevent the UK fully leaving the European Union, and the move has outraged prominent Brexiteers. This is what I was talking about. Speaking at the Parliament plenary session on Wednesday, the newly selected president of the European Parliament, David Sassoli, revealed that, as well as meeting with Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Tuesday, he had also engaged in apparently secret talks with the notoriously anti-Brexit Speaker of Commons, John Bercow. Far from being a simple meeting of the equivalent role holders from 2 parliaments, the president's comments made clear the 2 men had come to an agreement on working together to stop a full Brexit, what he called a chaotic exit. So, Cecily told the chamber, this morning I had a fruitful discussion with the Speaker Bercow in which I set out my view that any request by the British institutions of an extension of prorogation our parliament should allow the British people to give their views, be it in a referendum or some general election. Speaker Bercow and I were very much on the same wavelength regarding the importance of our respective parliaments in managing Brexit. So you have here...
I also had a fruitful discussion with Speaker Bercow, which I set out my view that a request by British institutions for an extension of or any prorogation of Parliament should allow the British people to give its views, whether it be in a referendum or a general election. Speaker Bercow and I were very much on the same wavelength regarding the importance of the roles of our respective parliaments in managing Brexit. And we share an awareness that a chaotic exit of the United Kingdom from the European Union would work to the detriment of citizens on both sides. I do trust that no deal can be avoided at the end of the day. The European Union nonetheless has adopted all the necessary measures to prepare for...
So he is meeting with he's meeting with Bercow, like really behind the Boris's back. That's so incredibly weird. Brexit leader Nigel Farage signaled his fury at this development, writing, "Sassily confirms a meeting with John Bercow in which they agreed to work to prevent a clean deal Brexit. What right does the speaker have to do this?" And I did watch part of this.
Very
a lot
clear,
of
Mr.
really good
Sassoni.
speeches.
You have no right to go and speak with the UK speaker, having conversations that are directly interfering into our domestic politics. It exposes your intentions to intervene at all levels to stop Brexit. It is immoral. Shame on you. And Mr. Barnier, I note throughout your speech, sir, you kept referring to the British negotiators as just British. We are the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and that will never change. Brexit was not a rejection of Europe or our wonderful European friends. It was a rejection of the anti-democratic nature of EU institutions, and you confirm to us every day it was right to leave. Thank you.
Well said.
Nobody in the parliament of the Brexit party there. So, very interesting. And Brexit party tops the poll and most trusted to be on the side of the British people. The Brexit party is trusted more than any other party, or politician to be on the side of the British public. Britons put the Brexit party ahead of 15 other politicians and parties as the most on the side of the British people with 31%.
Pause right there, because what's really interesting about that is the fact that the Brexit party in actual politics hasn't made a real foothold outside of the European Union. Mm-hmm. Okay? They don't have a bunch of parliament seats. Oh, shoot. It's fine. I stuck with my hands. But hang on, let me finish my thought and then I'll pick it up. It was one of our lights. They don't have a lot of parliament seats here in the United Kingdom. And so the fact that the poll already has them leading as being on the side of the British people, I think is really huge. It's never a dull moment around here. It just literally is not. Oh, jeez. It's all fine. We're all fine here.
Okay, all right. Bring some levity to the situation.
Kind of broke the thing.
Aww. Okay, with the party's leader, Nigel Farage was the third most trusted and respected.
You mean leader?
Leader?
You said legal.
Legal? Do you know that we've been doing this show for so long, and I really need to slow it down, but I have so much that I want to say that I just put my words together into one long thing.
That was Nigel and leader
as one. It's like shorthand.
Oh, great and wonderful Nigel. We bow before
It's shorthand for speak, and if you guys watch long enough, you'll pick it up, and we can get more information out that way. Great. The top 5 considered to be more on the side of the British establishment were the Conservative Party, 42%, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, 36%, MPs who want to remain in the EU as 35%, judges, 32%, MPs who want to leave the EU without a deal, 31%.
Judges were considered on the side of the people?
32.
Okay.
The survey also found that trust in politicians and parties to put the nation first when it comes to Brexit were as low as 17%. Despite the Brexit Party being the most trusted political party to represent the people, Prime Minister Boris Johnson again ruled out with an election pact with Nigel Farage, which is so weird. But there's no election yet. Give it a chance. If I were Boris Johnson, there's no way I'm going to play my hand with the European Union just yet. I'm not going to act like there's going to be an election yet. I'm going to act like this is,
right.
I am the Prime Minister. We're not talking about elections. Elections are not on the table yet. You know what I mean? But I think that Nigel Farage needs to, at the same time, still keep putting it out there. So what it does is it gets the people ready for it. They're expecting it.
Well, and I also think that at some point, regardless of when the next general election is, Nigel's just going to take the party all the way. Right. Regardless of what happens on October 31st, I don't think that Nigel's going to back out.
Yeah.
I think the Brexit Party, it's full steam ahead for him.
So, Verhofstadt, no surprise here, calls Johnson and Brexiteers traitors. Yeah, okay. The real traitors. The European Parliament's Brexit negotiator made the comments after conservative Eurosceptics and the DUP rejected the EU's counteroffer to Prime Minister Johnson's Brexit proposal. Verhofstadt said on Wednesday, "I think such a proposal that Boris Johnson exactly 1 week ago has put forward is not serious at all." The former Prime Minister of Belgium then claimed Mr. Johnson was playing a blame game. And only the one who is not being blamed is Mr. Johnson himself, apparently, says Mr. Verhofstadt, said during a session of European Parliament in Brussels. All of those who are not playing his game are traitors or collaborators or surrenderers.
All those not playing his game, does it really say that?
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, dear colleagues, the real traitor is he or she who would risk bringing disaster upon his country, his economy, its citizens by pushing Britain out of the European Union. That is my opinion. A traitor. And then Nigel Farage commented back, this man is more unhinged than ever.
So, Abominable Snowman says, am I the only one that is wondering whether Leah's top is black and green, or black and white, or green and white this week, actually? It's actually black and white, and I fixed the green thing. So, I don't know if you noticed, but on Friday, I think it was Friday, I was wearing green. Maybe it wasn't Friday. There was one day I was wearing green.
Yeah.
So, I fixed it. Maybe it was last Sunday.
Yeah. You fixed it. So, I'm glad that you asked that. That's funny. Farage expresses hope Tories will deliver clean Brexit, but Boris rules out a deal. This is from October 10th. Nigel Farage, ever optimistic, renewed optimism in the direction of Brexit and the governing Tory party. Prime Minister Boris Johnson's extinguished hopes of a clean Brexit break by ruling out a non-deal election platform. Veteran pro-sovereignty campaigner Nigel Farage said he was feeling more optimistic about Brexit than he had for a long time after Boris Johnson's efforts to negotiate a watered-down version of Theresa May's soft withdrawal treaty appeared to peter out, leaving a full, genuine break with the European Union as the only way forward. Brexiteers like Nigel Farage, he's only remained the
So,
no deal
Britt
is the
Boggs
best
says
way.
something interesting here. He says, Michelle, Nigel wants number 10 Downing Street as his home address and wants to change the first past
Do you think so?
the post system of voting to a proportional representation system of voting in a general election. I think that you're being very too optimistic. When I watch Nigel talk about it and they ask him if he wants to be prime minister, his reaction to me is so honest.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Of
want
no,
it.
because I think he likes being on the outside rather than on the inside. He doesn't want to be a parliamentarian. He doesn't want to be within the British politics. I don't think he wants to be prime minister, because what happens? Every single prime minister crashes and burns. I mean, can you remember one that literally came in and left?
Margaret Thatcher was one of the most beloved prime ministers of all time, and she had to resign in tears. What you guys do to your politicians is absolutely
You rip
brutal.
them to shreds.
It's
I mean, it's
brutal.
horrific.
It's brutal.
It's worse than here in the United States. I mean, every president that leaves the office, generally here in the United States, leaves kind of okay on okay terms. I mean, Nixon aside. But, I mean, seriously, what you guys do to prime ministers, it's horrible. When I was a kid here in the United States before 9/11, Tony Blair was the bee's knees. Like, everybody was like, Tony Blair is just the greatest person in all of UK, right? Now, that's not to say that he was, but by the time you guys were through with him, it was literally chewed up and spat out. And maybe he should have been. But seriously, I don't think there's anybody that goes into the prime ministership.
It's funny. The hatred of politicians is outweighs anything. Like, nobody's ever going to be satisfied. But here, this with the Union Jack up, people were pretty upset. But Nigel tweeted this out. Share this photo to wind a Remainer up. Here we have the Union Jacks up. Everybody was kind of a little bit upset.
Why? Wait, hang on. They were upset because they were hanging the UK flag.
Yeah.
For why?
Because it's a symbol of hatred.
You now can't hang your own flag, fly your own flag in the UK. We're not talking about the St. George flag, which we actually have here in our basement. We're talking about just the regular UK flag. Now that is offensive. If you're in the European Union and the only flag that you have other flags besides the European Union blue with the gold stars, then you're now a traitor and a racist and a Nazi scum.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. You're Nazi scum. So here, Corbyn repeatedly refuses to rule out a second Scottish referendum, just like with Brexit. What do you guys think?
The price of the asset.
No, we're not here.
Well, it went off.
Okay.
Bert Baza says proportional representation is a fair system of voting because it takes note of the number of people voting in the constituencies and puts MPs in place on those figures first past the post is. And we actually do that here in the United States
I thought
already.
you guys already did that.
I did too.
With a second independence referendum in Scotland, is that something you could agree to?
If we win the election, we win the election, and we form a Labour government with all the transformative policies that I've outlined. We are not going into coalition with anybody. We will put our programme forward in Parliament. What I've said on the Scottish referendum is it's not our priority. We want to put £70 billion of investment into Scotland, and we would certainly not countenance it in the early days or early years of a Labour government, because I think the 2014 referendum was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
There'll be some in Scottish Labour who are really worried about this. This is your opportunity to absolutely rule it out in any circumstance.
Very clear, we're not going into coalition with anybody, and I've made that very clear here and in Scotland.
So I'm there campaigning all the time with Scottish Labour. There's no way that you could give the green light to a second independence referendum if it meant that you could get...
What I've said is that we don't think independence is a good idea. The income and expenditure figures for Scotland indicate that an independent Scotland would face massive austerity and loss of public spending.
Not quite ruling it out.
No, but I'm saying that we would invest in Scotland and we wouldn't even count.
So you can't rule out the a second Scottish referendum. So he's always for the referendums.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Horatio sends me a personal message that says, remember, it's the Queen's speech tomorrow, pomp and ceremony, horse-drawn carriages, cellar searches, and the rest. So we've covered that in the past before, but it always promises to be really exciting. I don't think the United States, we don't have anything that matches it.
British historian Robert Tomes claims it is utterly removed from reality to argue free trade is nostalgia for an empire. In modern economies, especially those based on services such as ours, geographical proximity is irrelevant. We are no longer selling shiploads of coal to the nearest market, but expertise and ideas worldwide. And most misguided Remainers do not understand European history, he says. We're not going to open that one up because it's the UK Telegraph. Let's see. And then you have the DUP warns the Prime Minister it won't back any deal that traps us in the EU. We've seen very little detail regarding the supposed Brexit breakthrough, but the DUP are right to fire warning shots. Anything that is effectively the backstop, in all but name, that annexes Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK should not be acceptable to any unionist. So Northern Ireland is not for sale. A reminder to Brussels.
It's unbelievable. And when we listened to that lady, the MEP,
right,
she was like, listen, we are united. You can't take that away from us.
Right.
And she pretty much said the exact same thing. Like, we're going to leave together. You can't just, we're not going to leave Northern Ireland behind.
Right, exactly. Messrs. Barnier and Juncker have sought to trap the UK in a highly restrictive, costly new European treaty. They are terrified of the example that our success outside of the EU straitjacket would set. Michael Heber in the Express, describing his recent efforts to stand up for the British taxpayer against the corrupt EU's sickening waste, more than $4 billion in spending irregularities last year. We must have a clean break Brexit. So yeah, and so we'll see. This is the Brexit countdown.
So Horatio sent me a minute-long video.
Okay, great.
Of just exactly, and I think we might have played this before, but we're going to play it again for those of you that haven't seen it. For just what exactly it means with the Queen's speech tomorrow. That's just an advertisement for Epstein here. This is obviously, let me mute that. Well, not for Epstein, but for the Epoch Times, I think. Okay, skipping ad. Here we go. Skip trial thing.
And members of the House of Commons. My government will legislate in the interests of everyone in our country.
So there you go. Now you have a little bit of a better understanding as far as how that process works. The black rod part is always really fascinating to me. And I like it because it represents, he represents the Queen. He or she, I think it's a woman now, right now, or it was, represents kind of the royal family and the Queen and so on and so forth. And they shut the door in his face when he knocks on the door to represent the fact that the royalty does not rule the people anymore. And so I think that that's really, really neat. And then the Queen goes in and she gives her speech. And then, as that just said, at the end, then the Parliament session reopens.
1492. I'm in 1620. That's when it's
right. All right, so we're literally going to sign off right now. Thank you guys for joining us. We love you guys so much. We're so thankful that you're here. Please leave comments after the video. I have great fun going back and looking at them. Britt Baza says, Michelle, is your deck finished now? Yes, it is. We have one minor thing we need to do for that squeaky board. We need to go around
and the paint, a little bit of paint,
a little bit of paint underneath,
and then
it'll
be done.
And
yes,
we do need to do that video to show you guys the deck.
But
your plaque,
the plaque
to Grandma Marilyn is up. We did that for her commemorative party on September 9th, which was her birthday, or 8th.
It makes it look so special.
It does. It is really special. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We'll be back on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our weekly roundup. And perhaps tomorrow we have a lot to do. Or not a lot to do. Well, we do have a lot to do, but we have a lot to cover tomorrow because Britt Baza says, can you cover the Queen's speech? I don't know if we're going to get around to doing that or not, but okay, I'm rambling at this point and we need to go. But it's just because I hate to leave you.
But I really must say, good night.
Exactly. Good night,
Europe,
sweet
good night.
YouTube and Resistance Chicks family.
It is good night over there.
Yeah, exactly. Bye, guys.
Cold.